Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And same as yesterday, we know now Krishnamurti people are always late. And I tried by saying it yesterday maybe to poke everybody to come earlier, but it clearly doesn't work. But we're going to start because we have a schedule. So welcome everybody, second day of the annual gathering of the Krishnamurti Foundation. And we're here at the Oak Grove School in the Student Center. Yesterday we've been listening to quite a bit of perspectives on choiceless awareness and on inquiry and all that. I would like to say a few things about that. But before I do, I just want to make sure that you all have that booklet, if you don't, for the program, because after this, after the opening, there will be two programs happening. One program will be happening here, and one program will be happening in the first grade classroom, so that's on the other side. So, yeah, I would like to a few things about what stood out for me yesterday and what I wanted to bring out, because somehow, as I said also yesterday, this is not, we're not really trying to create an entertainment or something here, right? We're trying to bring people together so you can connect people with some kind of interest. You can explore together, you can network, you can find people who are equally interested in similar topics. So it's and somehow that you had to create a conducive environment around that. And what I feel is important, there's not one way to go about Krishnamurti, in my view. It's not only that you have to read the text, analyze that, understand the statements as a kind of philosophical mind juggling, and there's other ways of going about it. And I just want to bring that out a little bit, because I think it's important that, at least as from my perspective or from the foundation perspective, we want to hold all those different perspectives, right? Not just an intellectual or an academic perspective, but all those. I mean, Krishnamurti himself said at various occasions, and in some cases he said it even very strongly, that actually Krishnamurti is not for intellectuals. It's not mind juggling. It's not deep philosophy that has to be deeply thought about and then a conclusion being drawn, and then from that conclusion you somehow change your life or something. I mean, and in the Indian school, I know there was a particular event where he said that, and some people changed how they organized the school, and they started to do farm work and work on the land specifically to not only to cater to the intellectual way of looking at things. Now, so Krishnamurti said, okay, you have the sign. There are two ways of states of being or states of exploring that he said are most valuable. There's the scientific mind, which we just talked about and which we cater to a lot, but also the religious mind. Somehow a mind that looks at what it is serious about observing itself and looking at that. Yes, and I want to take you with a little journey on that. So like if I say a word like apple, we will all say, oh, apple, you know what it is, you know the object that we're talking about. There's hardly any confusion, right? I mean, you can nitpick what kind of apple is it, but that's not. Now, if I say anger, also there, we somehow have a shared understanding of what anger is, because we're all angry somehow, and we don't really have to dig far or dig deep in order to figure out what anger is. But if I say to you a Krishnamurti statement like, the observer is the observed, then actually we've lost the reference to what that means, right? Or we could lose the reference to what it means. And in that process, there might be the idea that we suddenly have to, oh, that's not about me, that's not about what's happening in me, because I don't know what it's about. I have to now think about it, study it, see what it means, and then somehow relate that back to what I am. And I would say there's a certain validity to that. Hey, what is the intellectual consistency of statements, and are they logical, etc.? But I think if we go too much into that route, into that direction, we lose something. Because in essence, I feel Krishnamurti is talking about our inner life. And unfortunately, our inner life, we don't really have concepts to describe that are so clear that you can say, okay, observe is observed, yeah, that's it, an apple, or anger. You don't know what it's referring to, but it's referring to something inside. So if you start then taking it on as an intellectual exercise, I think somehow we miss the point. The point is, how is my mind operating? How is my thought operating? And is there a process inside me where, with the observer you observed, if I'm angry, I think that I'm anger, and I can objectively look at my anger. And Krishnamurti points out, well, that's not the case. Your anger, you are anger. So if you're looking at your own anger, you're looking from that perspective. You cannot find an objective point in thought that objectively looks at that. So you have to take that in consideration when you look at the various phenomena that rise up in us, emotions, interpretations. We have to take in consideration that there's constantly the idea being generated of dualism, where there's an objective me which knows, which is clearly looking, and me that's angry or something. And he said, well, look at that, because the source of issues, there's a lot of source of issues that coming out of that illusion. So what I'm suggesting is, don't take it as an intellectual exercise, but if I'm suggesting at least also, or parallel, also look at what's going on for me, and that's the most important. What's going on in our heads, and take that direction, and not only the intellectual direction, or turning it into an intellectual exercise. So that was one thing that I had on my heart today. Yeah, and then there's one other thing which is not obvious, which I really would like to bring out in the few minutes that I have left. Of course, if we're exploring these topics with each other, you have your opinion, I have my opinion, and you have your study, I have my study. I have my life, you have your life, you have your experience, I have my experience. And that is all very separate, right? I mean, and we can share this separateness and somehow maybe feel into that. But I would say at the same time, when we're looking at our lives and at looking at these deeper questions of life, there's something what Krishnamurti used as communion. So is it possible to somehow look at something together, and not only from our personal perspective that we have to argue or that we have to bring out and that we have to solidify, but there's something like, yes, I mean, Krishnamurti sometimes talked about thinking together. Can you look together at something? Is it possible to suspend the preoccupation that we all naturally have with ourselves and try to look not objectively, but somehow not from a personal viewpoint only? And I think that's a challenge, but I think it's a crucial element of also why we're here, that we're trying to somehow look at, is the mind capable of not only functioning outside of that narrow space of individualism. So, these two things I would have liked to throw at you. Yeah, so, and I'm going to close. So, Yeah, I want to thank, of course, all the speakers that were there yesterday, and also look forward to the various people that are here or that are in the other spaces here at the school, and ask people who are around. Ask at the information booth. Because if you're not familiar, you might have to walk around a little bit. So take your time for that. It takes at least 5 minutes to come from here to the first grade classroom where the other program is. And the other name of the other program is Metacognition in Early Childhood. And that's by Laurie Cornell at the first grade classroom. And here there will be a program with Will Hornblower, who I've seen already, somewhere, and Aaron Gardner, and that will be here coming up after the music with Karolina. So what I invite you to is we're going to do a few minutes quiet, a few minutes silence, we're going to sit, and then Karolina, when the spirit moves her, will start playing 2 pieces of Bach. And then I will come on stage again and I will ask Deepa to introduce the next speakers. Oh, there you go.